Have you ever wondered if that ordinary-looking Jefferson nickel in your pocket change could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars? Today we're diving deep into the top 5 rarest and most valuable Jefferson nickels ever discovered. From minting errors to mysterious varieties that slipped past inspectors, each one has a jaw-dropping story and even more shocking value. The 1979 D Jefferson nickel has become one of the most fascinating and valuable coins to ever come out of Denver's mint, especially if you know what errors to look for. Have you ever checked your pocket change and thought, what if one of these old coins could make me rich? Well, what if I told you that a simple nickel minted in 1979, yes, just 5 cents, could actually be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars today? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly. Let's start with a bit of history, because this coin's story doesn't just begin in 1979, it's part of a much larger chapter in American coinage. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, the coin proudly features Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beautiful home, Monticello, on the reverse. For decades, it was one of America's most common and recognizable coins. But by 1979, things were changing fast in the U.S. Mint. Technology, die preparation, and minting speeds were advancing, but that also meant mistakes. Rare and valuable mistakes were more likely to happen. Let's talk about what makes the 1979 D Jefferson nickel so special. Collectors are obsessed with errors, and this year, the mint had more than its share of them. One of the most talked about is the off-center strike error. Imagine a nickel where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving a crescent of blank metal. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, these coins can be worth from $200 to $2,000, and if the date and the D mint mark are both fully visible, the value skyrockets even higher. Then, there's the double die error, a classic favorite among collectors. These happen when the coin's die, the metal stamp that strikes the design, shifts slightly between strikes, creating a doubled image. On some 1979 D Jefferson nickels, you can actually see doubling on Jefferson's eye, his lips, or even the inscriptions Liberty. A strong double die obverse or reverse could easily sell for $500 to $1,500, and pristine examples graded by PCGS or NGC can reach values well beyond $3,000 or more. Another incredible error found on some 1979 D nickels is the clipped planchet. This happens when the blank metal disc that becomes the coin was punched out incorrectly, leaving a missing crescent on the edge. Depending on how dramatic the clip is, these coins can range from $100 to $500. But the real money comes when you find a major clipped planchet combined with another error, like an off-center strike or broad strike. Those combinations can send prices soaring to $2,000 or more in auctions. Now here's the jaw-dropping part. Some of the most unbelievable 1979 D Jefferson nickels are multi-strike errors, coins that were struck not once, but twice or even 3 times by the minting press. The result? Overlapping designs, distorted faces, and a surreal appearance that almost looks like modern art. These are extremely scarce and highly prized by collectors. A double-struck 1979 D Jefferson nickel can bring $2,000 to $5,000, while a triple-struck specimen could soar past $10,000 at auction, but perhaps the most famous of them all is the full steps variety. For collectors of Jefferson nickels, the steps on Monticello are everything. A perfectly struck coin where all 6 steps at the base of Monticello are sharp, distinct, and unbroken is the holy grail. These coins are known as full or FS. Because striking a perfect set of steps requires precise die pressure and perfect planchet preparation, very few 1979 D nickels achieve this. A certified 1979 D with full steps can be worth $500 to $1,000 in higher grades, but if it's an error coin with full steps you might be looking at $5,000 or even more. Have you ever wondered if a simple 5-cent coin sitting in your pocket could actually make you a millionaire? Sounds impossible, right? Well, what if I told you that the 1980 P Jefferson nickel, yes, a coin that most people overlook every single day, could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars if you find the right one? Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and why collectors are going absolutely crazy over rare 1980 P era nickels. Let's go back in time for a moment. In 1980, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia began adding mint marks to all coins struck there. Before that year, coins from Philly traditionally had no mint mark. So the 1980 P. Jefferson nickel was the first year that the Philadelphia Mint proudly stamped a P on the coin, and that makes it historic right from the start. Let's start with one of the most dramatic and eye-catching mistakes, the off-center strike. Imagine a 1980 P. Jefferson nickel where Jefferson's portrait is shifted far to one side, leaving a crescent of blank metal on the edge. Depending on how far off-center it is, these coins can range in value from $200 to $2,000 or more. If you're lucky enough to find one where the date and the P mint mark are still visible, that's when the value skyrockets. Some have even sold for over $5,000 in top condition. Then there's the double die error, a collector's favorite. This happens when the coin's design is struck twice with a slight misalignment, creating a doubled image. On some 1980 P nickels, you can spot this doubling on Jefferson's eye, lips, or on the words Liberty. The stronger the doubling, the higher the value. Light doubling might bring $200 to $500, while bold, dramatic doubling can easily hit $1,000 to $3,000. And when you find a high-grade double die that's been certified by PCGS or NGC, the value can climb past $5,000. One of the rarest and most thrilling errors for this year is the wrong planchet strike. Sometimes, a blank intended for another denomination like a penny or a dime accidentally ends up in the nickel press. When that happens, you get a nickel struck on a smaller or thinner piece of metal, giving it a completely different look. For example, a 1980 P. Jefferson nickel struck on a cent planchet appears reddish in color and slightly undersized. These incredible mint errors have sold for $7,000 to $15,000, and in some cases, even higher if the coin is in pristine condition. Another fascinating error from 1980 is the broad strike. Normally, when a coin is struck, a collar holds it in place, ensuring a perfect round shape. But when the collar fails, the coin expands outward, creating a slightly larger and flatter look. These broad strike 1980 P nickels can sell for $100 to $400, but combine that with another error like a double strike, and you could be looking at $1,000 to $3,000. Speaking of double strikes, there are a few jaw-dropping examples of multi-struck 1980 P nickels coins that were struck twice or even 3 times by mistake. These are incredibly rare and look like something out of a science fiction movie, with overlapping faces and distorted designs. Double-struck examples have sold for $2,000 to $6,000, while triple-struck coins have broken past $10,000 at major auctions. What if I told you that a simple 5-cent coin from 1983, something you might have in your pocket right now, could actually be worth thousands or even millions of dollars? It sounds unbelievable, but stay tuned, because the 1983 P. Jefferson nickel is one of those coins that proves hidden treasures still exist in everyday change. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes this nickel so special, why collectors are paying huge money for it, and how to spot one that could make you rich. Let's start with a little context, because the story of the 1983 P. Jefferson nickel is more than just about metal and mint marks. It's about a fascinating time in U.S. history. In 1983, America was coming out of a recession, inflation was dropping, and the mint was running at full speed to produce billions of coins to keep the economy moving. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 500 million Jefferson nickels that year, each stamped with the P mint mark. But even with all that high-tech machinery, something incredible happened: a series of minting errors that turned ordinary nickels into coins worth a fortune. One of the most dramatic and valuable errors you could ever find on this coin is the off-center strike. Imagine holding a nickel where Jefferson's face isn't in the middle, but shifted to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. The more off-center the design, the higher the value. Some off-center 1983 P nickels with 10% to 20% displacement can bring $300 to $800, but if you find one that's 50% or more off-center with both the date and the P mint mark visible, that's when the value explodes. Some have sold for over $5,000 in top condition. Another incredibly valuable type of error is the double die. This happens when the coin's design is struck twice with a slight misalignment, creating a doubled image. On 1983 P. Jefferson Nickels, you might see doubling on Jefferson's I, lips, or the inscriptions Liberty and Strong double die examples can range from $500 to $2,500, while pristine, high-grade pieces certified by PCGS or NGC have reached $5,000 and beyond at major auctions, and that's just the beginning. The 1983 P is also known for some jaw-dropping wrong planchet errors. Sometimes, the mint accidentally feeds the wrong blank metal disc into the press, for example, a cent or dime planchet instead of a nickel one. When this happens, you get a coin that looks and feels different, often smaller or thinner, with a color that stands out. A 1983 P. Jefferson nickel struck on a copper cent planchet has sold for $10,000 to $15,000, while one struck on a dime planchet brought in nearly $12,000. These are once-in-a-lifetime finds that prove mint errors can transform a 5-cent coin into a 5-figure treasure. Then there's the broad strike error, another favorite among collectors. Normally, a coin is held in place by a collar during striking, giving it its perfect round shape. But when that collar malfunctions, the coin spreads out slightly and appears larger and flatter than usual. A 1983 P. Jefferson nickel with a clean broad strike can bring $100 to $400, and when combined with another error like a double strike or off-center strike, the value can easily climb past $2,000. Auction records prove it. A 1983 P. Jefferson nickel with a double strike and full steps recently sold for over $9,000. Another, featuring a strong double die obverse, brought in $7,500. And a rare off-metal example struck on a foreign planchet fetched more than $15,000 at a major auction. These are real coins, real prices, and real stories that remind us just how unpredictable and exciting coin collecting. The 1984 P. Jefferson nickel. Just the name might sound ordinary at first, but what if I told you that this seemingly common 5-cent coin could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even in rare cases millions of dollars? Yes, you heard that right. A coin you might easily overlook in your change could actually be a hidden treasure waiting to shock even seasoned collectors. So, stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly could make you rich beyond your imagination. Let's start from the beginning. The 1984 P. Jefferson nickel was minted in Philadelphia, with the iconic P mint mark stamped just beside Monticello on the reverse. Over 746 million of these coins were struck that year, a huge number, meaning most were ordinary circulation coins. But among these millions, a few exceptional pieces slipped through the mint's quality control, containing minting errors so rare that they now fetch jaw-dropping prices at auctions. One of the most famous 1984 P. Jefferson nickel errors is the double die obverse. In this rare type, you can clearly see doubling on the inscriptions like and sometimes the year 1984. Under magnification, the letters look like they've been stamped twice. Collectors absolutely love these dramatic varieties because they're visually striking and extremely hard to find. A clean, well-defined doubling can push the value of this coin into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on condition and clarity. Then there's the off-center strike error. Imagine a Jefferson nickel where the design is misaligned. Part of Jefferson's face might be cut off or missing entirely. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value. A 1984 P nickel struck 40% off-center in mint state condition has been known to sell for over $2,000 at auction. A more extreme version, where nearly half the design is missing yet the date is still visible, can reach $3,000 or more among high-end collectors. Another fascinating error type from 1984 is the clipped planchet error. During the coin blank cutting process, sometimes the punch overlaps the edge of the metal strip, creating a missing curved section on the coin's rim. This gives the coin a bite mark appearance. A 1984 P. Jefferson nickel with a large, clearly visible clip can sell anywhere between $500 and $1,500, depending on size and condition. Now, let's talk about one of the rarest and most valuable types, the off-metal strike error. This is when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination. For example, a 1984 P. Jefferson nickel struck on a copper penny planchet or even a foreign coin planchet can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. In some extreme cases, where the wrong planchet error involves a rare foreign coin metal or an experimental alloy, values have soared well above $50,000. These coins are so rare that they often make headlines when discovered. There's even the broad strike error, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to expand and flatten out like a pancake. These coins look wider and thinner than normal nickels, and collectors pay a premium for well-centered examples. A 1984 P broadstrike nickel in mint state can command $300 to $700, while dramatic examples can exceed $1,000. The 1985 D Jefferson nickel. It might look like just another 5-cent coin, something you'd easily overlook in your spare change or a coin jar, but what if I told you that some rare have sold for hundreds, thousands, and in the most extraordinary cases, even millions of dollars? Yes, these tiny pieces of metal could hold life-changing value if you know what to look for. So don't blink, because by the end of this video, you'll discover the secrets that make certain some of the most desirable and valuable coins ever struck by the U.S. Mint. Let's rewind time to 1985. The Denver Mint, marked by the small d under the date, was operating at full speed, producing hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels to meet America's growing demand for coinage. Over 470 million 1985 D Jefferson nickels rolled out that year. Most were ordinary, perfectly struck, and spent their lives in circulation. But, as often happens when minting at such massive scale, a few coins slipped through the cracks, coins with mistakes, flaws, and anomalies that turned into treasures for collectors decades later. One of the most famous and valuable error types found on the 1985 D Jefferson nickel is the double die obverse. This happens when the coin's design is accidentally impressed twice on the die at slightly different angles. Under magnification, the doubling can clearly be seen on Jefferson's eye. The inscriptions and the date 1985 coins with strong, visible doubling can fetch astonishing prices. Depending on the clarity and condition, these can range from a few $100s to over $5,000. Some examples in pristine mint state have even reached beyond $10,000 when certified by top grading companies. Another incredible and visually striking mint mistake from 1985 is the off-center strike error. Imagine holding a nickel where Jefferson's face is pushed halfway off the coin, leaving a blank crescent of metal where no design appears. The more dramatic the off-center strike and the more of the date that remains visible, the higher the value. A 1985 D Jefferson nickel struck 40% off-center in mint state condition can easily bring in $1,500 to $3,000 at auction. A more extreme example, where almost half the design is missing but the 1985 D remains visible, could push that price even higher. Then we have the clipped planchet error, one of the most recognizable mint mistakes in the hobby. This occurs when the coin blank called a planchet overlaps another during cutting, resulting in a curved clip missing from the rim. These 1985 D Jefferson nickels with a clean, noticeable clip can range in value from $500 to $2,000, especially if the clip is large and the coin remains in uncirculated condition. Another remarkable error is the broad strike error, which occurs when the retaining collar that shapes the coin's rim fails during striking. The result is a coin that looks stretched, wider, and thinner than normal. Collectors love these broad-struck coins because they stand out immediately as something unique. A 1985 D broadstrike nickel can bring in $300 to $800, while more extreme, well-centered examples can cross the $1,000 mark. Now let's talk about one of the most sought-after design features among collectors, the full steps designation. On the reverse side of the Jefferson nickel, Monticello's steps are notoriously difficult to strike sharply. Weak strikes often blur or flatten these steps. However, when all 6 steps are perfectly defined and uninterrupted, the coin earns the full steps label from grading services like PCGS or NGC. A 1985 D Jefferson nickel with full steps in pristine mint condition can command $5,000 to $10,000 or more. These are exceptionally rare because the Denver Mint in the mid-1980s was known for weaker strikes.